Okay, she's gonna talk to you about that.
So what I did over there, that little thing that's, hanging out over there, you guys. I'm just setting up a camera real quick so it can videotape me, so my teacher can grade me and things. None of you are in the videotape at all. It's just pointing at me, so you don't have to worry about that. In case y'all are wondering what the blinky light is doing. All right, so you all got the orange sheet out. So another thing that causes these missing assignments that Stephanie's been talking about is procrastination. That's a big reason kids are, having these missing assignments, not turning things in, procrastinating until the last minute, and then just not getting it done. Raise your hand if you've ever procrastinated before. I will raise my hand too, if it's a regular problem. Stephanie, raise your hand. It's not that abnormal. Kids do it. You guys have a lot on your plate. Sometimes it feels better to procrastinate. Sometimes you can get that work done really well. You're good at procrastinating. Sometimes you can't. So we're going to talk a lot about kind of the way you guys manage your time right now and kind of how you're going to manage it in high school. So I'm going to give you guys each a bunch of beans, and I want you to count out 24 beans. And that's going to represent 24 hours in a day. And if you don't have enough beans at your table, if I haven't given enough for you all, just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll come get more. Alright, so y'all are going to count 24 of them. And the leftover ones, if there's ones left over, you've already got your 24, go ahead and just leave them in a pile in the middle. Thank you.
Bless you.
Alright, so it's looking like everyone's starting to do 24 beans. So usually when there are missing assignments is because the time that you're using may not be used very well, or maybe there's just not a good balance in your time, and maybe you haven't noticed. Maybe you have a bunch in your schedule and you haven't even looked at it. A lot of people don't sit there and look at their schedule every day and say, oh, I have this much time for this. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to use this sheet twice to do this. We're going to go over it twice. And so we'll start out with that, your school week. We're going to basically base this off your school week. So for that first box in sleep, on a regular night, how many hours of sleep do you get? So how many beans? If the bean represents an hour, how many hours of sleep are you getting in a night? Just go average. Obviously, it's going to be different every night. So just go kind of your average night. Go ahead and count that out and put the beans in the little block smart sleep.
Be honest.
Yeah, just be honest. It's no, we're not going to judge you or anything. Some people get 2 hours of sleep. Some people get 8 hours of sleep. Totally fine. Alright, so we're going to move on to that school one, and we're not going to do all of these in order. We're going to kind of go out of order in the way we do this, so you can go ahead a little bit, but don't go too far ahead. So for school, most of you guys are going to put, 7 hours because you have a 7-hour school day maybe. Maybe you have 5, maybe you're running start. So go ahead and put how many hours you're in school each day. Some of you might have a 0 period too. Some of you might have a 7th period. Some of you might have, something more academic, even longer than that. So go ahead and put how many hours you're in school each day. And so for the rest, the other, maybe not all the other beans, but for the next step, I'm going to have you guys put in all your non-negotiable hours. So basically, it's the hours of the day that you spend doing something that you're not going to change. Maybe it's babysitting. Maybe you babysit on a regular basis. Maybe you go to church every week on Sunday, and you're always going to do that. So put beans in the hours that are non-negotiable. Maybe you do a club or a sport, and you're not going to give up that time. Maybe you work out every day, or on a regular basis during a school day, and you don't want to give up that time. So it's any time that you're not going to give up in your day that you really want to keep. And we'll do free time and homework time next. So we'll work on just things that are part of your day on a regular basis other than that. For some of you, it might also be chores. Maybe you have to do an hour of chores every single night. I know I did in high school. as you're finishing up with your those non-negotiable hours, look at the beans you have left. Maybe you have 0, maybe you have 10, maybe you have 5, whatever number you have left. These are your your hours for your homework. Like, you have a chance to do homework with these hours. This is your availability for homework. So put those beans in the spots where you're actually placing that time. Are you doing homework for that extra 5 hours you have? Are you watching Netflix? Are you texting? Are you out with family doing things? What are you doing with that extra time? It may be time available for homework, but not all of us are going to spend all our free time with homework. So be honest with kind of how you're spending those extra beans. Does anybody want to share kind of where their time is lying with homework? Like, how much time are you spending on homework each day? Does anybody want to share? Yeah.
I put 2 hours because total my homework and reading, because my parents make me read an hour a day.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you have 2 hours for homework.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Who else? How many hours do you guys spend on homework? Okay.
1.
1 hour. Yes.
2.
2. Does anybody spend, 0 time on homework? So you can be honest about. There have been days where I've spent no time on homework. Or more than 5, more than 6. Right, so there's kind of an average going. You maybe spend a few hours on homework each day. So we all have the same amount of time in a day. We all have 24 hours, and you can only split that time so much. So how many of you feel like you're able to get all your homework done in the time that you're giving it? How many feel like you absolutely, no matter what, have enough time to get your homework done every night with the hours you allot for that? A couple of you. Yeah, not everyone though, right? Sometimes maybe your life takes over. Maybe you have other commitments that you are doing that are keeping you from homework. Maybe even you don't want to do homework and you want to spend more time texting and watching Netflix. I know I've been there. So that's, it's not, you all have different schedules. Everyone has a different way they want to have their lifestyle. So the beans that you put on those spaces in the box below, go ahead and put in the actual hours that you put in for each of those. So the little box below, write in under actual hours how many hours those beans are. For the next one, I'm going to have you guys look at a different way of looking at it. So a lot of kids don't have enough time in their days for homework. Whether it's because they don't have time or because they don't want to have time or because they're busy doing other things. So a lot of kids don't have enough time. Our days are short. It feels really short, especially if maybe you want to get more sleep or you want to do more clubs and sports. All sorts of reasons. So as you take a look at this, where do you all think you need more time? So looking over this, is there any areas that you guys feel like you need more time? Do you need more time to sleep? Do you need more time for homework? Do you need more time for your family that you're not getting? And how many of you would end up making a change to this? Can you raise your hand if there's an area you would want to change? It was perfect scheduling. Obviously we still have to fit in homework, but perfect schedule, would you want to change something on this? So what would you change? I want to share what they would change. What would you maybe add more to?
Sleep.
Sleep? Yeah, absolutely.
Family time.
Family time? Anyone else want to make a change?
Homework.
Homework? Yeah. There's a lot of areas that we could want to make changes to. It could be any of these. So basically, I'm going to have you guys do this again. So now I'm going to have you guys put in what your ideal schedule would be. So go ahead and put on that goal hour sheet. So we're going to make a goal. Goal hours. How many hours in each thing would you ideally get if you could have a perfect life? Don't go over 24, of course. Obviously we can't have 10 hours of sleep and 10 hours of homework and 8 hours of school. But in a perfect 24-hour day, what would that look like for you? Go ahead and write those under the goal hours, which is next to those actual hours. I'll do that. Right now, what the perfect world would look like. I know my schedule's not perfect in the way that I would want it to be either, so it can be sometimes, but other days, of course, it's, you know, it'll never be perfect for everyone. So does anybody want to share, you know, what you borrowed from to make your schedule a little bit better? Maybe did you borrow from your sleep hours to give you some more homework time? Did you borrow from your family time to give yourself more sleep? Does anyone want to share what they changed on theirs for their ideal schedule? Yeah?
More sleep and a 0 period.
More sleep in a 0 period?
Yeah, and another hour for homework.
Another hour for homework? Where'd you get that other hour for homework from?
I had 3 left over, so
Oh,
I
gotcha.
and
Yeah, so you kind of prioritize differently in your life to make room for what you wanted. Anybody else? Maybe where you borrowed from to get what you know, your ideal schedule? And that's okay. Basically what we're trying to kind of show you guys is that you do have to sometimes make sacrifices to what you want to do to get your, you know, your perfect, what you want. Like I might have to give up an hour of Netflix to get the A I want in that class. That might be something I give up. So it's, you know, it's about making sacrifices, but in the end, it's about making sacrifices for things that you really do want. It may not seem perfect and seem fun at the time, but in the end, at the end of the year, you're like, oh man, this helped. I got way more sleep. I got way more time with my family, you know? And so that's what we try to communicate with this activity a little bit. So on your paper somewhere, we're gonna have you guys write down a goal for how you're gonna manage your time this year, how you're gonna use your time this year. And maybe for some of you, it's, you know, you feel like your schedule is really good, and so your goal could be to maintain that schedule, to maintain the schedule you made. Maybe it is that you want to get more sleep, so you're going to try to, you know, borrow from something. So what's a good goal for how you want to use your time this year? Just go ahead and write that on your paper. I'm not going to collect these, so it's just for you. Just write it somewhere on your paper, a goal you want for the year, for your time management. And that's my, do you have anything to add, Stephanie, to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask one question, and that's, like, for those of you who said you needed to borrow from one area, time from one area to spend more time in another area,